Hi everyone. Today I'm interviewing Emily. So Emily, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Just had a relatively productive day at work. But yeah, other than that, just getting ready for this interview. So what have you been up to?
Nothing much today. I'm off today, so I've just been trying to do some stuff around the house because I don't have a lot of off days.
I see. So you have quite a busy role.
Yes, I usually work about at least 70 hours a week.
Mhm.
So I don't have a lot of free time.
I see. Okay. And what is your role? What do you do for a living?
I am an insurance adjuster.
Okay. And what does that involve?
So I'm a property adjuster. So basically, when there are hurricanes or hailstorms, windstorms, anything like that, and there's property damage, I write the claim. And I pay people basically. I make coverage determinations and buy their insurance policy and pay them money.
Okay. And is that a role which you were wanting to go into, or is it something you sort of found yourself in?
A little bit of both. A few years ago, I assisted someone. I was a claims assistant for a field adjuster, which is where they actually go out there and they inspect the property themselves. I'm an inside adjuster, so it's different, but that's neither here nor there. I helped him and I kind of got in it that way. And then I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I can do this. So I got my license and I got a job, and now that's what I do.
Okay. And hmm. Okay. So you're already sort of in that kind of field, at least to begin with, before you consider the specific role.
Hmm.
Um, did you go to university?
Mm-mm, never.
Okay. And when you left school, let's say high school, what did you want to do?
Um, I'm interested in so many different things that there's nothing that I can just pinpoint. That's one reason that I never went to school because I can't I can't put that much money into something and get into debt if I'm not confident and I don't know what I'm going to do. But my
Mm.
passion is writing, like creative writing. That's my passion.
Okay. And what is it about creative writing that you like?
Um, I like I like words. I like linguistics. So I think it was natural for me to be drawn to that.
Mhm.
But mostly, I think I'm interested in people, like how their minds work. I'm
Yeah.
interested in people that way. So I've always been an observer. I used to like when I was a child, I like to mock people and imitate them. And I've always just really watched people and then tried to figure them out. And so when people are interesting to me, when they're fascinating to me, I use that in my writing and I make them characters or I'll use them as inspiration. That's just I love that. I like character driven stories more than plot driven stories, but
Right.
I also like world building as well. Like I'm into that too. But for me it's definitely like how people are so different and so fascinating.
Okay. And what sorts of things in people do you say that you like to mock?
I haven't done that in years, but like I would mock how people would talk and how they would walk and move about and stuff that they would say and even how they would sing. Like I grew up in church and I would mock some people how they would sing and how they would clap. Just anything like that that was interesting to me that I knew was I don't know, anything that was interesting I would mock.
Okay. What fictional character have you found most compelling and why?
Hmm, that's a tough one. I don't know if there's any singular character. I find so many different characters fascinating for different reasons.
Okay.
Um, I don't really know if I can answer that. I don't think that there's a specific one.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you. And how about out of the people in your own life, which person, which real life character has captured your interest the most?
There's a lot of them. Um, My dad is really funny because he's very
Mhm.
predictable, but it never stops being interesting or funny. Like, usually predictable people are boring to me, but he's
Mhm.
so funny about it that, like, that's really funny. Um, because you know exactly what he's gonna do or gonna say, and you can bait him pretty much to get him because you know what he's gonna do. But it's funny every single time
Mhm.
because he's the same. Um, I don't know. There's so many different people, so many different ways, like people at work that I watch, um, that, are interesting. I just kind of pick up different things from different people. And then sometimes if I'm making a character based on that, I just kind of, I guess I synthesize all of that and make it into one thing. So again, I don't really think that there's any singular person that has been particularly compelling to me. I just think that
Okay,
they're all funny and fascinating and entertaining.
I see. So, have you done any writing in your own time?
Yes, but it's been a while because I don't have time. But I
Mm,
am working on something now, and I hope to make it a series.
okay. And what is that about?
It's a murder mystery.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, it's an Edwardian murder mystery, and I guess the main character is very much me, but it's less of a like a self-insert and more like I didn't grow up with like female characters who were very me. Like I didn't identify with any female character
Mhm.
strongly. And so I kind of wanted to write one. That was my idea. Like, I wanted to just make my own because I'm a writer and I can.
Yep.
So she's not me, but she has so many of my personality traits and my perspective and my worldview on things.
Okay. And what are the traits of your personality that you want to crystallize in fiction?
I guess I think that most of my personality traits were probably historically considered masculine, like
Hmm.
very independent thinker, very analytical.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not a very I don't make decisions like I don't think about other people when I'm making decisions that much. Like most women in my life tend to.
Hmm.
And I'm not at all saying that all women are like that, but I mean it is overrepresented, that women are typically more um what's the word? They think of other people when they're making decisions and how this is going to impact them. And I don't do that. That's
Hmm.
always secondary to me. I just look at it like what's the best, what's the most logical, and what do I want out of this?
Okay.
Um, I don't want to do anything that specifically harms anyone. I don't, I don't care enough about people to care about harming someone, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, because I think that there's some level of you want to control people or you care about them in some kind of way to want to do that, and I don't want to do that at all. Um, but yeah, it's just little
Mm.
things like that, I guess, that I've always been weird, I guess, but like not in a quirky, like the quirky, cute. What's her name?
Mhm.
The manic pixie dream girl. Like I'm not that, but you know, just I don't know. I just never found a character that was very much like me. Only like parts of
Mhm.
me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that does make well. One part of it doesn't immediately make sense to me, and
Mhm.
that you say you are very much a character-oriented person. You're interested in observing people, understanding people,
Mhm.
distilling different characters for your works of fiction. But at the same time, you'll say that when you're making decisions, you don't really think about people.
Mm-mm.
That's an
Um
interesting contrast there.
yeah, I understand where you're getting from there.
Mm.
But for me it's very much I'm interested in people in a pretty clinical way. I'm
Mm.
not emotionally invested in people typically,
Yep.
or to me, it's not about that. It's just if I find something interesting, it's interesting, and I'm going to explore that. I have a kind of a researcher's mind, I guess. That's what my sister says because we're different in how we. She is the kind of person that I guess likes to give people tools on how to navigate life,
Mhm.
and I don't care about that at all. I just want to see them do stuff. Like I'll instigate stuff just to see how people react,
Mm.
or what they do, um, or I'll just go with the flow. Like I won't involve myself or intervene. I just want to see what's going to happen. So I don't get upset when things don't go my way typically, as long as
Mm.
it's going somewhere interesting.
Okay. And what sorts of, can you give me any sort of examples of where you may have, say, gone out of your way for things to be interesting?
Um, I'll just sometimes I don't know if I have a particular example that I can think of because I do it so often. I'll
Mm.
just say something. And it won't be particularly controversial or anything because I don't like I like conflict, I guess. Like I'm not conflict avoidant at all. I'm a very assertive person and I think
Mm.
that conflict is healthy, but I
Yeah.
don't like strife. So I don't like invite that necessarily. So I'm not like a particularly controversial person unless it needs to happen. But just for the
Mm.
sake of controversy, no. So I'll just kind of say something, or like I'll know, I kind of have an idea of how somebody's going to react to something, and I'll test that theory, and I'll do or say something, or I'll just keep watching them for an extended period of time because I know that that thing is going to happen, and I want to see. I don't know. I can't think of any specific example.
That's okay. Don't worry. And in your, back to your role at the moment, what parts of that do you find the easiest to do, and what parts do you find the most difficult or the most frustrating?
Talking to people is the most frustrating part, probably, like being on the phone so much. I'm pretty good on the phone,
Yeah.
but it's not my jam. Um, Talking to people at all is not my jam.
Yeah.
Um, I'm very I'm very reserved in my own way. I'm reserved unless I don't want to be.
Yeah.
Um, but I like to be alone. I don't like to be around people. So I don't like to talk on the phone. And I don't like sometimes I want to deal with things how Emily deals with them, but not how customer service Emily should deal with them. So that part sometimes is frustrating. Um, I like I like like I like making coverage determinations. I like reading. I mean, a policy is basically a legal contract. I like looking at that and interpreting that. I like um, I like writing estimates. I just wish I had more time to make them right.
Mhm.
I don't like I don't want to sacrifice accuracy for efficiency. That bothers me. And
Right.
yeah, and what
Okay.
I do, we have to produce, because basically the idea is just to get as much money in people's hands as fast as possible. And then if we need to do something later, they can file a supplement. But I like to get everything right. So I don't like that part.
Mm. And why do you like to get everything right?
I don't know. That's just how my brain works. I've always been that way. I like precision and accuracy, and I I like to take time to do something right. I
Mm.
like to be methodical. Um, I've just always been that way. I
Mm.
like I'm not a super I think when I say that people tend to think that I'm detailed oriented, and I am in ways, but I'm s- I'm detailed oriented and I'm a big picture person at the same time. So it kind of depends on the situation and the level, I guess. Um, but my natural whatever is to make sure that things are like correct. Like I need that. It
Mm.
drive like to make sense and to be right. It drives me crazy when something doesn't make sense or it's not right. Unless it's fun. If it's fun, then it might be okay. But typically, if it's not fun or interesting, then it needs to be right. And hopefully we can have both. That's the
Mm.
best of both worlds.
Sounds good. Let me see. So, describe yourself being quite reserved. Do you have many friends?
Yeah, but I don't have many like IRL friends. I
Mhm.
have online friends mostly.
Okay.
I don't really hang out with people that are here except
Mm.
for my sister and my cousins. They're like my best
Mm.
friends here.
Okay. Hmm. And is it easy for you to make new friends online?
Yes, much easier than it is in real life.
Why is that?
I don't know. Um, it's less anxiety, maybe. Um, and I can do it on my own time, I guess. And there's less of an obligation there in ways because like I don't have to hang out with you. Like I don't have to go anywhere or anything like that. Like I can just be wherever I am and I can talk whenever. And if they're on other time zones, that works great for me because I like to be up late. So if they're several hours after me, that's cool because I can just stay up all night and talk.
Mm,
But I don't actually have to like go anywhere or do anything with you, and you can't have many expectations of me.
thank you. What is it about conflict and confrontation that you enjoy?
I like when people are I like it when people are clear. I don't like passive aggression. I don't like when people don't say what they mean. I think that you should say what you mean and you can still do it in a nice way. But that bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
Um I don't do well with guessing what you're trying to tell me or what you mean or what you want. Like just tell me straight up. I like I just it's hard for me to respect that as well, I think.
Mm,
Um cuz I just if people just said stuff, like wouldn't that just be so much simpler? If
mm,
you I mean, without getting hurt or upset or being sensitive about it, just like say whatever. I don't understand not doing that. Um and I'm the kind of person that if we have a problem, we're going to talk about it and we're going to try to figure out a solution. I'm very much a problem solver.
mm,
Um and I think that people let things become problems more than they should. I think you should be proactive about solving something and not just react, not just let it unfold and
mm,
just let it happen and let it get worse because then people are thinking all these different things and they're probably not right. Like it's probably not true what you're thinking or how you're
mm,
interpreting the situation. So let's minimize that. Let's cut all
mm,
that, cut all the BS and just talk about it. Like it's
mm.
simple. That's how I grew up, I guess.
Yeah.
Um and that's how I am.
Mm. Thank you. And you describe yourself also as being a rather assertive person. How
Mhm.
does that assertiveness manifest itself?
Um I thought you were going to ask something different. Um I I stand up for myself, I guess is one way of saying it, and I have boundaries. I guess like a lot of people don't have boundaries apparently. When that comes very natural to me as a person to have boundaries, to set boundaries and um I don't know. I have boundaries. I stand up for myself and I will stand up for other people if I have to, but ultimately I think that you should do that. Like I'm responsible for me is how I look at it. I'm responsible for me and nobody else is going to care or whatever, so I have to do it.
Mm. Thank you. Mm. What did you think I was going to ask?
I thought you were going to ask how I can be assertive and reserved at the same time because that's a people ask that a lot.
No, I was trying to sort of tease that out, but I think you've answered that at least partly. Yes,
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, I was going to think, oh, it's sort of like, do you sort of control the room? Are you that sort of fill up the room sort of person? For probably not if you're a reserve, but
Mm-mm.
it's yeah, setting your boundaries, don't cross this point, that sort of thing. That makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah, I don't need to be at the forefront. I don't want to be. I think that that comes with expectations and obligations, and I don't want that. Like
Mhm.
I'm not a leader or a follower, I don't think. I think I
Mm,
would probably be a good leader in some ways, but I don't want that responsibility and I don't want people to look at me and want
mm,
things. I don't want that. I sound very much of a 5 right now, but
Okay, thank you. So that's your Enneagram, yes.
yes.
Okay. And okay. So let's look more into your imagination. You said that there's so many different possibilities, and
Mhm.
you didn't really you really want to get into depthness until one was really worth it. So, what would you say is the possibility you would like to follow? What is the one that's really worth getting into in the long term?
I guess as far as passion is concerned, like where I'm most passionate, it would be linguistics and like writing. And
Mm,
I love typology too. Like I would do that too. I would write about it. I would marry both of those if I could.
mm. Okay, thank you. And and you said you like words. What is it
Mhm.
about words that you really enjoy?
Um the precision, that there's like the nuance of words and the shades of meaning.
Mm,
Um and I like etymology a lot, which is basically like the genealogy of words. That's fascinating. I like
yeah,
being able to trace something back and also see how that root spawned all these different types of words that mean all these different things and how they're all related and how they don't look like they're related. Like anything like that is really interesting to me. But I guess it mostly comes down to finding the right word, um, the precision, I guess. I guess that's probably what it boils down to mostly.
mm, thank you. Mm. So I know you say if you like things to be right at work. Does that
Hmm.
show up outside of work? Are you quite a meticulous person outside of work?
Yes. But not probably not in the way people think typically. Like
Mhm.
when people they probably think that my room is like immaculate, but it's not. I'm not like I'm a pretty messy person.
Okay.
I don't want to be that way. I just kind of am because I'll have a lot going on in my mind and my mind is like it's more fun and it's safer, I guess, in my mind than like, around. I don't know how to say that. But I
Yeah.
just get caught up in my mind a lot and I don't pay attention to what's really going on around me. Like I'll forget to eat. I do that a lot. I'll forget to eat for or drink water. I'm getting
Mhm.
better about that, but I'm really bad about doing stuff like that. Because I just
Mm.
get caught up in my head. Um, and I think about things a lot. Like I don't know, anything that strikes me and I'll analyze it to death and take it apart, but also put all kinds of things together. Like I synthesize and analyze with equal fervor, I think. Um, but yeah, especially like when people say things or their ideas. That's
Yeah.
mostly where I want things to be right and correct. It's less the external world, I guess. Although there are ways that I am like there's a particular way to load the dishwasher, obviously,
Yeah.
um, and things like that. But overall, it's more abstract, I guess.
Okay. Thank you. And what do you mean by synthesize?
I take all these different things that are, I guess, unrelated or they look unrelated or they look disparate and then pull them all together, and make something from it.
Okay.
Or, grab a whole lot of different things and add it to this. It's basically like cooking. Like you grab this seasoning, you add this, and I use a lot of seasoning, and you put it all together and it
Mm.
makes something cool and hopefully palatable.
Mm. Thank you. Now, you said before that you find people who are predictable, boring. How
Mhm.
do you balance the desire in yourself to get everything quite right and correct with appreciating unpredictable qualities in another person?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. Hmm. I don't know. I guess it depends. I guess is it. It just depends. It depends on the situation, the person, what we're talking about that should be right and correct or whatever.
Mm.
Um, I like things to be right and correct and all of that, but I like chaos. I need a certain amount of chaos in order to thrive. I can't have I have to have variety. I have to have something different. I can't eat the same things all the time. I get tired of it. I don't want it. I have to have I just can't it makes me I'm not a good person when everything's the same. If that makes sense. I don't
Okay.
feel good.
Isn't that what?
So,
Mm.
yeah. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
I think so. Yeah. And you said that you find it a lot safer to be in your head than around, as in, do you especially do you mean being aware and present in the moment, like being present in the moment? Is that the difficult thing?
I guess. Yeah. I never really thought about it like that. Um, but yeah, I guess I'm not that present. Because I'm usually like thinking, like how Sherlock, he talked about his mind palace. It's kind of that type of thing.
Right.
Like where I'm in my brain and I have this like whole ecosystem up here and I'm thinking about the future and I'm thinking about like weird stuff usually and like how weird bodies are. And I get like I think about it too much to where it gets gross and then I talk about it and people are like, that's really gross, stop talking about it. But to me it's just interesting. That's neither here nor there. I don't know where I was going with that. But
Yeah.
um it's just I don't know. I guess I'm here like present if there's something for me to watch. If there's
Mm.
something entertaining going on or something that's going to help me later with something,
Yeah.
but typically like just in general I don't care about it that much.
Mm. So that sort of brings me back to the assertiveness question. So
Mhm.
I'll ask a different version of what you thought I would ask before, which is if you're very much in your head, in your mind palace, how can you be present enough and vigilant enough to successfully defend your boundaries?
I don't know. I don't know. I do it all, but I do it. It's
Mm.
natural to me to balance that. I guess that I'm very aware of probably threats to my independence, to
Mhm.
my space. I'm
Yeah.
very protective of my space and my time because it's
Mhm.
mine.
Yeah.
And um and anything that's going to interfere with me having the freedom, I guess, to be in my mind palace is it that's important to me. So
Mm.
I'm gonna stop that. Like I'm gonna keep those boundaries to where you're not interfering with me being able to be me. If that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. So it's sort of like a. It sounds less so much of a sort of constant vigilance in the moment and more of a you know you're not gonna accept any nonsense if someone's going to try to interfere in your space, get rid of your independence, and you'll be able to say no to that.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, have you ever sort of been tested in that immediate moment where you have to react immediately and galvanize quickly?
Yes.
Hmm.
Um I have. And then usually that relationship ends. Like, to be honest with you, like if you
Okay.
can't, and I'm not saying that it's like a huge, but typically when I become friends with someone
Hmm.
or like start any kind of relationship, I'm already laying the boundaries. I'm telling people exactly how I am as a person. Like if you can't, if that's not something that you can handle, like you probably don't want to be friends with me. Like I'm gonna just be upfront about it. Because that will save a lot of trouble on the back end. So that's what I do. And usually you already know before it ever gets that bad for me to do that because I'm not just going to cut somebody off like I don't know, infraction's not the word, but like one infraction. I'm not going to do that because I'm not that kind of person. But if you repeatedly do that, and I'm already telling you, like, like, this isn't, I'm not okay with this, like, we
Mhm.
need to talk about this or whatever, and you keep doing it, then I will cut somebody off. Like, I
Mm.
will. Because, I
Okay.
mean, it doesn't serve me, and I'm not serving
Mm.
you. Because, like,
Mm.
obviously, I'm not the friend that you need. So,
Mm. Makes sense. Thank you. And in what situations do you find yourself at your least confident?
probably anything where I have to react. Um,
Mm.
in some ways, I don't know. It depends on the thing, but anything that I have to react to quickly and I'm
Okay.
not prepared for it. Um, and in general, like social situations, I'm typically not that confident. Well, depends. I'm really good at simulating things, I guess, in social situations, because I'm like just aware enough to know that I'm like bad at it. So I'll
Yeah.
just kind of, simulate things and like watch people. If I want to, like if I don't care about it,
Mm.
then I won't. But like if something's going on that's interesting and I want to stay there long enough to figure out what that is, or find out, or watch, I will
Yeah.
simulate enough to where I can stay there and do my little observation thing.
Mm. Okay. Thank you. And hmm, how easy is it for you to change your mind?
Not not that easy. It's easy for me to hold off on making a decision.
Mm.
Sometimes I don't know. That one's always a difficult one to answer
Yeah.
because on one hand I'm very decisive, but on the other hand, if I don't think that I have enough information to make a good decision, a sound decision, I won't make it. Unless it's very, very urgent that I do so. If I know that I can hold off on that for a little while till I have what I need, then I'll do it. But if I do have to make a decision and it's urgent, I'll just be like, okay, well, I have to make the best decision that I can with the information that I have right now.
Yeah.
And so then I will do it. But typically when I make up my mind, I've made it up and I'll roll with it. Like I'll just, cuz I don't know. I'm not a very indecisive person. I don't think I don't waffle very much, and I think I find people who do that frustrating to a degree. But yeah, I'm pretty decisive, especially with when it's about something that doesn't matter that much. Like day-to-day things that don't matter that much they don't matter that much to me, I guess. Like it's not a
Mm.
life or death situation. It's not like somebody's going to die if I don't know. And my family, like some of my family, they are horrible at making decisions because they don't want to inconvenience the other person or whatever,
Yeah.
and I freaking hate that. So I make the decisions. So like if I'll figure out where we're going to go eat or what we're going to do for Thanksgiving. Like one time I was working out of state and I wasn't even going to be there for Thanksgiving, and I decided where we were going to go for Thanksgiving cuz nobody else could make a decision. And it's basically for me it's just what's the most logical thing for everybody involved, and if we're going to go eat somewhere, then what's the place where everybody can find something that they like it's not that hard.
Mm.
So in that way I'm very decisive, but when it comes to making up my mind about something abstract, I guess, like I'll like a debate in my head about something that's more abstract, or like what I think about something that's abstract, like I don't know, like
Ah, frozen a bit. Let's see if she comes back. I'll just look at comments while I'm waiting.
Oh,
Ah,
sorry.
oh, that's
Um,
okay.
it's raining really bad, so the internet cut out. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. So what was I about to ask? Anything? Forgot what I was going to ask. Um,
I was rambling too much,
you,
probably.
no, no, it's fine. You were talking. I remember now you were talking about how there's certain odd qualities to you that people often need to know about before when they get to know you quite quickly, that you haven't seen those qualities in a character before.
Mhm.
What and what are some of the odd qualities that you think may cause people to not react to you in the way which would be most appeasing or appealing?
I think that people want me to be more involved than I'm willing to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just need too much space in a long time, and I can't I can't handle very much of people's like emotional whatever because like mine's more than enough for me. Like I don't want it. Um, it's stressful, and I mean I'm good about like if I'm mentally okay enough, I'm good about being very calm and dissecting why someone feels this way or whatever, and then like if they want, I guess, how to fix it. Like I'm a problem solver. So like I'll come up with strategies or ways to fix something or like help people. But I'm not probably not everybody wants that, you know. I'm not the commiserating type, I don't think. Like I just unless you are um I don't know, unless I'm really, really, really close to you, I just I don't do that. Um I don't know. There are a lot of things about me that are probably not like ideal in a
Yeah.
friend. Um, I don't know. I
Okay.
just I don't know.
That's fine.
I need
Thank
a
you.
lot of space.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my
Now,
allergies are killing me.
oh, I'm sorry about your allergies. Is it
My
hay
eyes are
fever?
like my eyes are leaking and everything and my nose is
Oh,
running. I'm sorry.
and I just thought you were a very sensitive person.
Really?
No.
Ugh. I know they're
um,
bad.
yeah, okay. And let me see. Um, okay. So you said that having your space is a very important thing to you.
Mhm.
Why do you need your space?
It's gonna come down to being a 5, really. Like, you know, just needing that, um I just can't deal. Ooh, it's thundering. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Um, what was I saying? Talking about being a 5. Um, I just need it. Like, I just need it. Like,
Mhm.
I don't have enough for me, basically. Like, I don't have enough to handle my stuff. So like I really don't have enough to handle your stuff. If that makes sense. Like I can't do it.
What is it about your stuff which is hard for you to handle?
Jesus. Um like my own emotional whatever is too much for me.
Hmm.
Like, you know, I that keeps me busy enough.
I see. And is that more of a like an emotional control thing where the emotions become too strong for you, or is it something else?
Not necessarily too strong. Uh
Mm.
it depends on the thing. But I don't have very strong emotional just strong emotions, I don't think. At least not compared to how I hear other people talking about theirs.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I don't identify with that a whole lot.
Okay.
But maybe I just don't let myself. Maybe. Um, yeah, I don't even like to feel my own feelings or to sit there with them. I don't care to. Um, but I don't really think that I have particularly strong emotions, but I
Mm.
have them. Like they're definitely there.
Mm. Let me see. What can I ask you? So, as well as linguistics, typology, and writing and characters, do you have any other hobbies and interests?
I mean, I like reading, obviously, but that kind of goes into everything else. I
Yeah.
like plants a lot. Um, so like aesthetically and scientifically, I guess. That's something that I'm interested in. I like brains, like neuroscience. That's cool. Like neurolinguistics, if that's really interesting. Like that's something that I
Mm.
would like to do.
Oh,
Um,
that's
I
good.
like weather, like
Yeah.
atmosphere, any kind of like atmospheric science type deal. I like
Yeah.
art history. I like art in general, but
Mm.
more like looking at it and not so much doing it. I don't know. I like to paint, but I'm not great. I just do it. I do kind of like an impressionism type thing because that's what I like
Mm.
and what comes natural to me. I don't like hyper realistic detailed stuff. I can't do that. I like, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I like and a lot of things that I'm really interested in. Like it's hard
Yeah.
to pinpoint one thing.
I see. Thank you. Mm. Okay. I think I have an idea, although maybe I'm debating whether maybe I should do questions from the audience in the follow-up session. I think maybe I should do it in the follow-up session. I just want to take see what people are thinking for you because I've got an idea already. Okay. People in the right sort of ballpark. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Emily, I'll tell you what I think at the moment. Okay.
Hmm.
I think most likely ILI for you. And I can see
Hmm.
people thinking ESI, which, although on the surface, from an MBTI background, that seems like a very different type. It actually is very similar in socionics. They're both
Hmm.
types that have gamma quadra values. And I'll tell you what gamma is. Gamma is going to be that quadra which is most about setting up one's independence, protecting one's independence, not allowing oneself to be controlled or to be subsumed into any sort of group think or that sort
Hmm.
of being influenced by other people's opinions, that sort of thing. And they're the ones which are most likely to be wanting to set boundaries in their relationships, the ones most likely to be character oriented, with a set of a harsh judgment to that character, and they tend to be quite good at problem solving in more of a pragmatic sort of way, not just sticking to certain ways of doing things. Um, but that's perhaps more of the gamma extroverts rather than say the gamma introverts. The gamma introverts, the main thing is the emphasis on, first of all, the sense of what is important in the long term. Those things which are more important than other things, rather than sort of trivia, day to day stuff, and also that analysis of character, analysis of their opinions towards others, and a tendency to be a bit more cautious, not necessarily risk takers out of the gamma introverts, except for one type, which is one gamma extrovert type, is more like to take risks. But in general, the sense of caution, the sense of thinking, okay, how can I do things more pragmatically, a sense of harsh judgment and need for independence in one's mindset and personal achievement. It can be quite ambitious, but it's very much about what they have achieved, how they've overcome obstacles, and that sort of thing. And within that, I think ILI. So ILI is a type which is a researcher, an intuitive and logical type, rather than sensory and ethical. I thought that what showed up quite repeatedly for you is that you are more of an analytical problem solver. Your interests are primarily more intellectual, although you do have an interest also in character. But I think that is sort of something which you really like doing in terms of observing, finding out, working out people, rather than necessarily being an adept relationship manager. And why I was asking about your assertiveness beforehand, I was trying to see how that really manifests. The difference between an ESI and an ILI, both quite similar, but the difference is that the ESI is going to be more naturally socialized, more about, first of all, how they feel about different things, their attitudes towards things, if they like it, they don't like it, who they like, and getting a sort of very instinctive sense of someone's character, and being able to act on that, being able to very quickly set the right boundaries and manage all the nuances of those boundaries with the person, how much of a friend they're going to be, etc. Whereas for you, I think you know how you feel towards people after you've observed their behavior, after you've taken enough data
Mhm.
points to know what the trends and the patterns are, rather than being purely instinctual. And
Yeah,
then you can
that's
say, right,
accurate.
I need to keep you at a distance. I need to keep my distance in that situation. And it gets
Mhm.
most challenging for you when you have to react in that moment. You much rather simulate, think things out before you go into action. That suggests to me that your extroverted sensation is actually the weakest part for you, whereas introverted intuition is the strongest part, the thinking ahead, the world building side, thinking how things will be turning out in the long run, that sort of thing, and not really wanting to make a decision until you've really thought it out carefully. And if it's something which is trivial, you can make a decision because it's not so important. You just know what is logically the best step. But you don't like moving from processing all the information to just acting if there's a lot more out there yet to be taken in.
Mhm.
I think extroversion is quite weak. I think your extroverted logic is quite strong, whereas for an ESI, it wouldn't be quite strong. They often form close relationships with others who can provide more relevant data, who can provide expertise and knowledge in an area, and they can trust them to help them with giving more factual information. Whereas an ILI, they can number crunch very easily, can take in all those facts. But what is interesting about you compared to many other gammas is that a lot of the gammas, you can get the impression, especially the extroverted ones, where they're quite relentlessly pragmatic, that they may chop and change things depending on what works best and what actually leads to the best results. But when it comes to an ILI, every single type of gamma has something which is not very gamma-ish. And for ILI, the part of them which isn't gamma-ish is that need for things actually to align and make sense in terms of its internal structure, which is more something you'd expect out of, say, an alpha or a beta, that more introverted logic side. It's not about how things are working, how well they can be made to work, it's what aligns and makes sense. Now, ILI has introverted logic as a demonstrated function. It's like the exception to the rule for gammas. Whereas you take the other gammas, they're not going to be so like that. So that's why I think that introverted logic can best make sense. For a while, I was thinking, oh, maybe you're some sort of LSI. But then very early on, I was thinking maybe you're some sort of EII. These two types are very different, but if they're the type that sort of fits in the middle between them is this ILI type in the sort of this we call it benefit cycle. Everything like these two types are sort of adjacent to the middle typing, which would be the ILI. Yeah, and introverted ethics, I think that personal character aspect, it is very much pushed in you, assessing character, finding out what different people are like, really trying to get under the hood for who they are as a person. I think it is definitely pushed, but not necessarily naturally instinctively strong like with an ESI. So I think it makes a lot of sense as the mobilizing function. So this is where it's something which you work on and you develop. It's not something which you need the most help with. You'd rather develop that for yourself, but it's not something you can just take for granted either. It's quite high stakes. And when it goes wrong, you may act on it perhaps without as much nuance as someone who's very strong with it. So it's an ILI often who have to cut someone off if they've proven themselves to not be very trustworthy. Whereas an ESI, they know exactly how far they can throw them, and they can manage that with more nuance. Even though they're very confident in the boundaries they assert. Whereas I think for an ILI, they just want to make sure they can assert a boundary. They're not entirely sure how to fine tune that boundary to the person, because then someone can then take an advantage of them in that moment. It could really get quite dangerous for them and more than they can actually handle. And you talked about when things get too much for you to handle, that can be a problem. Instead, it's a question of you then proactively minimizing the risk so that you don't find yourself in a situation in that moment which you can't handle. And I think it's very much the introverted intuition again being at the forefront, and the extroverted logic, the more pragmatic problem-solving side and data accumulating side supporting your long-term imaginative thinking. And yeah, what else can I talk about? Introverted sensation, that's not valued, and I don't think it's strong, but I think it's stronger than your extroverted ethics. So what I mean by that is that you can be detail aware, you can to some degree, where it's important to you, but you're not naturally in tune to sort of the day-to-day stuff, your needs of your body. You don't intend to look after yourself particularly well. So it sort of switches on, switches off, depending. You're certainly not burning yourself out. It's not a clear blind spot like with an LIE or an EIE. But I think it makes sense there as being not too valued, more emphasis on things being the big picture things is what you're really thinking of. The day-to-day stuff, you see it as being less important, and you're making that distinction already. That suggests that day-to-day stuff is seen as being a bit more trivial rather than the big picture stuff. Introverted intuition valued over introverted sensation. And I think the vulnerable function for you, which is the real blind spot, is probably that extroverted ethics, in terms of knowing how you're coming across to others, thinking of it as being an important thing to come across to others in a certain way, saying things in a way which isn't going to upset people or isn't going to lead to the wrong reactions. For you, it's like you're making decisions. You talk about that as even being assertive decision making. It's more making decisions without giving a poo how people are going to react, because at the end of the day, it's not important. It's fundamentally not important to you unless there are material consequences which are going to put you into situations you can't handle. And I think that very much fits in with the extroverted ethics as a vulnerable function. And you speak of yourself as being, you expect yourself to be a sort of weird, unusual person, which people aren't immediately going to get. So you already have this thing, you know, there's this thing about you which you don't quite see that particular thing, and it's no big deal. You don't particularly care about it. You know, other people maybe make up a fuss about it, but you know there is some sort of issue there. You don't really know what to do about it, even though it's really worth doing anything about. And I think that makes sense of a vulnerable function. It's a blind spot. It's not deemed to be important. It's not a painful thing for that type. They don't care about it so much. The weak point, which an ILI does care about, is their extroverted sensation. They care about the fact that in that immediate fight or flight situation, they may feel weak and powerless, and that someone could then establish control over them. That is the scary thing for them.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And yeah, at the same time, extroverted sensation is also a positive. What you seem to like in someone else is that they are unpredictable, and that they can get lots of things happening and going and move forward with that sort of energy. And they have that sort of inconsistent chaos to them, which they can even bring. And we can see that a lot with SEEs. They tend to rush into things. They tend to have a great deal of vibrancy and energy in terms of how they go about things. They can be utterly relentless in terms of pursuing the things which they want to pursue, and nothing can hold them back. So an ILI can find that quite exciting, and that also creates those sorts of pressure environments, which actually gets an ILI to sort of stop overthinking and actually feel empowered to act. And so the SE and ILI works as this dual pair. The ILI, of course, then provides a sense of foresight and just knowing that actually don't do that, that's a stupid decision that's going to lead to a bad outcome. And so that's how they work out quite well. And yeah, extrovert intuition, I think, makes sense as an ignoring function. You talk about things being interesting. So there's an awareness of potential. There's an awareness of how things could alternatively possibly turn out. But it seems to me that you're very comfortable shutting down possibilities. Once you deem what is important, what is not important, you'll cut someone off, rather keep things open just in case. You are truly trying to find that one possibility which is of most import to you in terms of what to follow through for your life, where you want things to go. And you're more really taking time to think through what that is, and not sort of invest money and end up in debt for the sake of something which you might think is not even worth it at the end of the day. So not that you're proactively exploring lots of different possibilities. And I think that, and you do have an interest in a variety of things. It's not necessarily a huge variety of things. And once you make up your mind, as you said, it's not very you're not very quickly going to be able to change your mind. You're quite seriously intent on making a very good long-term decision rather than making a decision which you might not necessarily stick to later. So extrovert intuition is there. I think it's strong, but I don't think it is used very much compared to your introverted intuition. I think it is repressed more by your introverted intuition. So I think what we call any ignoring makes sense. It's not a blind spot, but it is reduced in scope in the way which a blind spot might be. Only that when you need to use it, when your introverted intuition, when your long-term thinking needs the awareness of different possibilities, that will then be activated and that can be used. It's not that you have tunnel vision. Yeah, so those are all the information elements. Do you have any questions for me?
No, everything you said made sense. And I think that you accurately interpreted everything that I said.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, it sounded right. I don't know any. I'll have to go, do some more reading and, research that. But just from what you said, definitely did make sense.
Okay, good. So what we usually do now is the way the new structure works is that we have a follow-up session in a week. So that'll give you time to do research. I'll send you a profile. I'll also send you a link to this interview, and you do your reading, see if it makes sense. And if it doesn't, of course, that's fine. We can talk about that as well in the follow-up session. You can ask as many questions as you want. If we run out of questions for you to ask, then we can also have, if you're all right with it, we can also have the audience ask you some questions. That could be fun. And yeah, just see if that typing can be confirmed or if an alternative typing ends up making more sense. We can discuss that as well.
Word. Okay. Sounds cool.
Okay, great. In which case, Emily, thank you so much for coming on for this interview. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you everyone else for tuning in. Yeah, so have a lovely rest of your day. Have a lovely week. And I'll speak to you soon about the follow-up session next week.
Okay. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Good. Take care now. Bye bye.
Bye.